Chapter 8, A Crazed Captain. Crazed means crazy. So, someone's about to go crazy. Let's see what happens. Okay. It was 1846, the peak year for American whaling. There was such a demand for experienced hands that the ship captains had a hard time finding qualified men. Captain Ira Davis of the whaler Franklin found the task especially difficult because he ran a religious ship that observed the Sabbath and forbade grog, the liquor that kept most whalers in high spirits. Everyone hired had to sign whalemen's shipping paper, which included the following clause. For officers, no distilled spirituous liquor will be put on board. In case of violation of this pledge by the master or any officer of seamen, his entire share of the voyage shall be thereupon forfeited. Okay, so that means if you were a captain and you got caught bringing alcohol on the board, you didn't get any money. Okay, and this is what the rule was for the crew. It shall be the duty of the officer having care of the logbook to note all instances of drunkenness and every instruct of women put into the ship for immoral purposes. For every instance of drunkenness, 2 days' pay shall be forfeited. Okay, so for the people that were on the crew, if they were caught being drunk or having a good time with the lady, they would lose 2 days' pay. Okay. As an observant, the Christian ship, the Franklin, held Sunday services that were all compelled to attend. This was no hardship, since the Sabbath was the day of rest. No whaling was allowed. Although if spouts were sighted, someone kept track of them until Monday. Captain Davis, who had been a harpooner on the John Howland, learned that Majiro was studying at Captain Whitfield's farm. He knew that this castaway was a bright, hard-working young man who wasn't addicted to drink, and so he went to Fairhaven to see Majiro. The prospect of going to sea thrilled Majiro. Although his position was merely that of a cook's helper, and his share was only 1/140th of the profits, he signed up because he was eager to go to sea. So here's a ship, or a picture of a ship hunting a sperm whale. Okay. Despite his happiness in America, Majiro suffered from spells of homesickness. He longed to be with his family, and he was plagued with guilt because he felt a moral obligation to support his mother. On May 15, 1846, the Franklin weighed anchor with the crew of 24 men, 10 of whom were from the New Bedford area. The ship set out for the other side of the world by rounding Africa's Cape of Good Hope. Whaling all the way, the ship reached waters near Japan a year later. Manjiro's heart raced when he saw a fleet of Japanese fishing boats nearby. He quickly asked and received the captain's go-ahead to join his countrymen so that he could return to Japan. A boat was lowered and the crewmen rowed Manjiro close to the 2 boatloads of fishermen. But although the Japanese men accepted biscuits in exchange for fish they had caught, their lips were sealed. They were afraid to talk because of the law that forbade them to be near any foreign vessel. Manjiro realized they would not take him home. He knew they wouldn't even convey a message to his mother telling her that he was alive and well. Much saddened, Manjiro returned to the ship. In September of 1848, the Franklin docked at Honolulu. Islanders directed Manjiro to a small house that the Hawaiian government had given to his castaway friends. The reunion was emotion-packed. Manjiro saw Terman, Denzo, and Goman and found out that the ailing Jusuk had died. His castaway friends worked as servants in Dr. Judd's home and at the mission house. They had felt obligated to sign a pledge of loyalty to Hawaii. It stated they would bear true allegiance to his master. Let's try again. It stated they would bear true allegiance to His Majesty Karaheme III, the king, and they renounced allegiance to every other government and particularly of Japan. Nevertheless, they felt like strangers in a strange island. Depressed and homesick, they dreamed of returning to Japan someday. After a month's stay in Honolulu, Manjiro sailed away from the Franklin to whale waters near Japan. Life on board suddenly became a nightmare. Captain Davis went berserk. He didn't seem to know who he was, where he was, and what he was supposed to do. He physically attacked others for no apparent reason and shouted crazy commands. At first, the crew didn't speak out for fear they would be accused of mutiny. But the captain became so violent and irrational that the crew concluded he was insane. Even though they risked being tried and sentenced to death for mutiny, they unanimously decided to remove the captain, put him in irons, and kept him shackled until they reached port. Based on the votes from the crew, the first mate was elected captain. Manjiro, the cook's helper, was hailed as most qualified to be second in command because of his experience and training. He was unanimously chosen to be the first mate. So right there, he went from being a cook's helper, which was not a big deal on the ship at all, important, but not like high ranking, to being the second in command. Everyone was relieved when the ship docked at Manila in the Philippines, and no one was accused of mutiny. An American consul confirmed that Captain Davis was too crazed to command a ship. The captain was forced to stay imprisoned in Manila until a ship could transfer him to the United States. On September 23, 1849, after 3 years and 4 months at sea, and having had 500 successful whale hunts, the Franklin returned to its home port of New Bedford. Manjiro had earned $350 as his share, more money than he ever had in his entire life. So let's see. So here's a picture right here of those two men. Those are the two men that were Manjiro's friends, Goman and Denzo. And then this one is another map just showing the travels that they did. Let's see. They left from Fairhaven in the United States and went all the way around Africa through here. There's Hawaii, but over here is Japan. And there's Australia. And then they